guys, today's lesson is on lines that intersect circles. This is the first section that we have in our chapter on circles. And today's objective is going to be basically to identify all the vocabulary that we see in this circle chapter, including tangents, secants, and chords. All right, some of the terminology will be familiar to you. Let's take a look at the definition of a circle. Okay, this is a little bit of a tricky definition to understand, so let's go through this. It says the set of points in a plane. Now, the set of points, circles are made up of an infinite amount of points, right? So I can put a whole bunch of points on this circle right here, and it's an infinite amount. We have no idea exactly how many that is. So that's what we're talking about, the set of points. So the points on the outside that would connect to make the circle. In a plane, planes are flat. If you go back to chapter 1, we talked about planes being flat surfaces. So a set of points in a flat surface that are a given distance, a set distance. Okay, so what this is saying is these points on the outside here are all a set distance from the given point in the middle, which is called the center. All right, so they're saying here that every one of these distances, that's that given distance there. Every one of these given distances would be the same from the center out to any point on the circle, anywhere we draw it. Now, you guys know those given distances to be radius lengths, right? They're radius lengths. So the given distance is the radius, and the given point there is the actual center. So it's a set of points that are basically the exact same distance from the center point. And that same distance that they are is the radius there. Okay, so we already know, if we take a look at the next definition there, that we have the center. The center is the point in the middle of a circle that has the same distance to every point on the circle, right? We already talked about that. And of course, the radius definition says it's the distance from the center point to any point on the circle. So that those three definitions there are all kind of covered in that definition of a circle. Now, let's take a look back up here. The little circle with the dot inside, that is the symbol that we use for circle. Okay, for example, the center point there is A. Circles are always named by their center. So this one here would be circle A because A is that center point. This one here would be circle P because P is that center point. So circles are always named by their center points. Okay, let's talk about a radius. A radius, we said, is a distance from the center point. It's going to be a segment. All radius lengths are going to be segments because they are a set length. They are a set distance. And of course, one thing we have to remember is that every radius in a circle is the exact same length, right? So for example, if I put another radius in this picture right here, let's say I put AC, the length of AC and the length of AB would be equal to each other. Okay, so that means every radius is the same length. And again, it makes sense because remember, they're all a set distance, the same distance from that center point. So all of those radiuses have to be equal there. All right, let's go into this next definition of a chord. Okay, a chord is a segment. It's always identified as a segment. It's a segment whose endpoints lie on the circle. So for example, in this picture here, we have segment AB, that's a chord. This segment that goes through the center, that is also a chord. Right? We know that one that goes to the center as another term. That's called a diameter, right? A chord that contains the center of the circle. But see, to understand the definition of diameter, you have to understand the definition of a chord, a segment whose endpoints lies on the circle. A diameter is just a chord that contains the center of the circle, one that goes right through. So an example in this picture, both of those would be chords. Chords are always segments, not lines, okay? Chords are always segments, so you have to be careful with your symbols here. Okay, in this picture here, it tells us that CD is the diameter. Now, when we talk about diameters, I just want you to remember that a diameter is going through the center of the circle, and a diameter will always be the longest chord in any circle. It's going to be the longest chord. And as we go further out here, these lines get shorter and shorter and shorter. Same thing on this side, they get shorter and shorter and shorter. So the diameter is always the longest chord in any circle. Okay? All right, let's go on to the next part. Next definition is the word tangent. Okay, let's go. Next definition is the word tangent here. All right, so a tangent, okay, is a line. Tangents are always lines. Okay, that's one of the big difference now. All the other things we talked about, diameters, radius, chords, right? They're all segments. A tangent is a line. So that's new there. Okay, it's going to be a line in a plane that touches a circle in exactly 1 point. So basically it's a line that kind of skims along the outside and it's going to touch that circle in 1 point. And that point where it actually touches the circle there, that point B right there is called the point of tangency. That's our point of tangency. It's the place where the line is tangent to the circle. Now we've got 3 different points in this picture. And I just want to make notice of something here. O is the center, right? A is outside the circle. It's outside. So that's in the exterior of the circle. And B is actually on the circle. So that's what I have noticing over here to the right-hand side. You have all that little key over there. Just making sure you understand what's happening here. So B actually is on the circle where A is outside the circle. All right, let's look at the next definition, a secant. A secant is also a line. It is also a line, okay, in a plane that touches the circle in exactly 2 points. So this is one that's going to actually start out here, cut through, and go through the outside. Different from a chord. A chord actually starts at one endpoint and goes to the other, whereas the line goes all the way through. This line AB is a secant. Now you have to be very careful because all secants contain a chord. That's important. They contain a chord there. So from here to here, that is a chord, and that chord lives inside of this entire secant there. Okay, so you have 2 things happening in this picture. You have line AB, and then you also have segment AB. Segment AB is a chord, so be careful of the difference between those 2. Right? If I ask you to name a secant, you've got to make sure you put the line on top. If you use this as a segment, then your answer is not correct. That would be a chord, because a chord is just a segment where a secant is a line, so be careful there. All right, so the interior of a circle is all the set of points inside the circle, as I was mentioning up here, and the exterior is all the points that are outside the circle. Again, different from points on the circle. Different from points. B here is on the circle, A is in the exterior, and O would be the center, which is in the interior. All right, let's talk about labeling this. So let's take a look at this picture here. Let's identify what the parts are. Because basically what you're going to be doing today is identifying parts of circles. So, first of all, you can probably pick out your diameter. This line right in here is going to be our diameter. Okay, so that whole line, that whole segment there actually is our diameter. We also know that half of it, right, half of it, so from here to here, right, that part there would be the radius. Okay, that part would be a radius. We also have a segment here that touches 2 points of the circle. That would be a chord. Remember, the diameter is also a chord, but the diameter is a better name for the diameter. It happens to be a chord, but we're going to call it a diameter because it actually goes to the center. We also have this line that is touching 1 point on the circle. It's kind of skimming by the outside. That is our tangent line. And remember, that point right there is the point of tangency. Right? That's the point of tangency. Okay, that leaves one line in this picture, and that line there would have to be, let's see, let me red. That line is going to be our secant line. All of this whole line here, touching through 2 points of the circle, that line there is our secant. Okay, so make sure that you have your diagram labeled correctly because that's important to understand all the different parts of the circle there. Okay, so let's look at the definitions. Answer the following. The blank of a circle is a set of points on the inside. The interior, right? The interior is a set of points on the inside. A blank is a line. Now, first of all, it's asking you about a line. So that eliminates diameter, radius, and chord because they're all segments. So this answer has to be a line that intersects the circle at 2 points. The one that intersects the circle at 2 points is the secant. The tangent is the one that touches the circle in 1 point. Okay, look at circle P below. Okay, this is circle P. All right, why is line segment XY not a secant? Well, line segment XY is not a secant because it's a segment, right? Because it is a segment. Okay, it's a segment. All right, a secant must be a line. A secant must be a line. That's actually a chord there, right? This segment XY is actually a chord, okay, because it's a segment. All right, use circle P to identify the parts. All right, so we want the secant line. The secant line. Now remember, back in chapter 1, we talked about an alternate way to name lines, and you can use just a single little lowercase letter. Right here, we have a line that is touching 2 points on the circle, so that's actually line Z there. That's line Z. The point of tangency, right there, the point where the line touches the circle, that tangent line touches the circle is B. The tangent line then is going to be this line K right here. K is a little lowercase letter. That's line K. We're going to name a chord. We already talked about that up here. So YX is a chord. We need a point in the exterior. Anything that's outside, well, that would be R. R is outside the circle. And we need a point that's on the inside. And the only point that we have inside the circle is P. Okay, guys, if there is any part of this lesson you do not understand, particularly how to label all your parts on the circle, go back and rewatch the video. Okay, good luck.